Flash to kick back towards the wing for Lady! Left now, lines them up. It's coming back. Cox is the biggest man there.
G'day guys, welcome to Red Time. Jared Barker, Mason Cox here. No interstate games this week, so we are back in the studio. Mason, only 2 more interstate trips for you boys.
Yeah, it's good not to have to do international travel this week.
Yeah,
It's nice.
yeah, how handy. You guys have it good. You guys have it real good, don't you?
Oh,
Or is that a fake narrative? I reckon it's a fake narrative.
I think the fact that we bring in probably one of the biggest fan bases into the league comes with some benefits. I will say that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did
The
you
AFL
see-
likes money, and money comes with supporters.
It
So
does.
certain benefits come with that.
Yes, I can't remember who. There was a statement. I reckon the initials of this key media figure might be KC.
Figure that
out. He said
Very
something.
debatable person,
It
you'd
might have
say.
been yesterday or the day before. He said something like the Pies get they're just the AFL's pets or something, like get really well looked after in an even competition. It's not fair. The audacity to call it an even competition, by the way. But was it only last week or 2 weeks ago? The AFL is anything but fair and even.
He's just still mad he can't get his actual jumper back. It's cute.
Yeah.
It's cute.
Oh god. Anyway. How's your week been?
It's been good. It's the 5-day break into Fremantle was pretty crazy. Traveling over there and stuff like that. So
A few days off after the game?
yeah, a few days off after the game, which was good. So some guys actually stayed in Perth for a little bit and had a little bit of a, I guess you could say, mini holiday for a couple of days.
Yep.
Some of the Perth boys, obviously, they're from there. I got to stay and see some family, which was good. And then some of us flew back. So I actually got the red eye back, which was pretty crazy to go into a game and then like straight to the airport and then get in at like 5:30 in the morning.
Oh, you'd be wrecked. You'd
You're
be wrecked,
absolutely
man.
wrecked. Yeah, I did fall asleep on there, but yeah, you're absolutely wrecked for the next day. So it's all part of footy, and you just deal with it. But yeah, we've had a few days off, and then excited to get into this week's challenge.
If
with
you're
Adelaide.
falling asleep on a plane, that's a massive result. I'll put it to you that way.
Huge result. I
Massive-
have like a
massive
whole
result.
travel system that I do. So obviously, like I've had a few experiences living overseas.
Yep.
17-hour flight. You figure out what works, what doesn't. So a little 4.5-4-hour flight to Perth. That's easy for me.
Yeah.
That's easy.
I'm jealous. I can put it to you that way. Mate, massive news. We've got to get stuck straight into it because there was a lot going on. Breaking news last night.
Jeez.
We're going to have to credit the Seven Network for this. It is about Lachie Schultz and the concussion from last week, the game that you were involved in. So obviously some key figures at the footy club. I think Darcy Moore spoke, Craig McRae. Obviously they would have preferred that the game was stopped when he was concussed on the ground. The statement by the AFL over the weekend did read that the umpires would have and should have stopped the game had they noticed Lachie being concussed on the ground. There were new revelations last night, again via the Seven Network, with a new statement from Laura Kane and the AFL saying that the information she got from the umpires was wrong, and there was audio from the field umpires that do reveal that they did notice Lachie on the ground, concussed, despite not stopping the game. Not putting blame on anyone here, but you were right there. You're right there when the incident happened.
5 meters away.
I need your immediate reaction, one, to the revelations from last night and the audio that you have heard from the umpires, and then your experience being there as a player and what you experienced at that time.
Yeah, I think I understand it's part of the game of like contact sport and tackling and stuff. Obviously knowing Lachie Schultz as, a friend of mine and a teammate, seeing something like that happen so close to you it does shock you. It definitely puts you in that kind of holy smokes, and you kind of almost like half second of oh my, that just happened. And it was I think anyone that watched the vision, it doesn't look good. It's not a great look for the game, obviously, and we want to try to minimize that as much as possible. And obviously concussion's been a massive issue for the AFL for a long time, and you look at the scenario over the weekend, it's not a great look, probably, how it's all kind of panned out, and the communication that's happened from the umpires on the ground to be able to, what they should have probably, in agreement, to stop the game at the time. And then post the game being able to communicate the correct stuff to the AFL, and then the AFL having to take credit for it. I felt, kind of bad for certain people in positions like Laura Kane, who had to come out and say, we made a mistake. And then Channel 7 comes out with new vision that says that what they said was incorrect. And there's all these kind of people pointing fingers at each other. And it's a tough position to be in. Obviously, I think from my standpoint as a player, health and safety is always number one. And stopping that game for 15, 30 seconds, whatever it was, to be able to get Lachie off the ground and to get the proper care for him is of priority. And I think in the moment, the ball gets kicked over, I think, to Jamie Elliott for a set shot. And I think we can all be in agreement that the game should have stopped then.
Well, this is the thing. The play was continuous, right?
Yeah,
and in the audio, you can hear the umpire, saying, "Hey, there's a player injured on the ground. Are we ready to stop? No, don't stop yet." I think the quote is, "Wait for the call," which means they're waiting for a directive. That's what I'm.
This is where the confusion comes in.
Yes,
is there a kind of an angel in the sky that's sitting there saying, hey, we're going to make the communication to the umpires on their headsets, whoever it is, to say that they need to stop the game? Or is it on the umpires in the game to do it in the moment? And I think a lot of people are getting confused as to whose responsibility it is to actually stop the game and to look at the vision and be able to understand it. Because you look at the umpires, you go, okay, there's 4 of you. I understand, each one of you probably has a zone on the ground that you look after, and as the ball moves, that zone might change, right? And they kind of move around and shift in unison. And sometimes you might have someone else, it happens in their zone, then all of a sudden it becomes someone else's issue or their area to look after, and that doesn't get transferred over or something like that. But I will say, in the game, there was a lot of verbal feedback from players, considering the fact that I was around Lachie at the time. To stop the game and look after the player and what's in his best interest to get him off the ground.
Were you saying it at the time as well? Were you saying to the umpire to stop the game?
Yeah. There was multiple players. It wasn't just
from
me.
both sides as well?
I'm not sure about Fremantle's side. I know another player of mine was very stern behind me. And the words that he used, and I don't blame him one bit, because I think anyone in that scenario can understand that. Because I think once you see visually a player stumble like that, that's a real concern, and that's a real concern not only just as him as a player, but him as a person. I think anyone understands that concussion is a big deal.
It's the health and safety thing.
It's an issue we're dealing with as a league, and we need to take the precautions to make sure that these things are looked after in the best way and the most conservative way as possible. And if it means we have to stop the game for minutes on minutes, I know everyone's talking about the game's going too long, whatever it is, blah blah blah. It's I don't care how long a game goes. I want to make sure that the players that are out there putting their health on the line are looked after. And if that means you have to delay a game by 30 seconds or a minute to get them off the field to make sure that they don't get, pulled back into a contest or something whenever they're physically not even able to stand. I think that's pretty understandable.
And I think that most people do share those thoughts. So Laura Kane's statement did read, again, this is via her in the AFL, as revealed by the Seven Network. So the statement we released was incorrect, but we were given the wrong information from the umpires. It's inconsistent with the vision. They, the umpires, were going off memory and not the vision, and we should always look at the vision. I think there's two parts to this, right? So the political side of the statements and who was incorrect and who was lacking the transparency. Where was the breakdown in communications? But then it's also, as we've just spoken about, what is the responsibility of umpires? And given those quotes from the vision where they are telling each other, wait for the call, there hasn't been a call yet, as in to stop the game, to let Lachie get assistance off the field, it does tell me that they are waiting for someone else to tell them what to do. I think there should be more responsibility on the umpires, and they should have the discretion to be able to stop the game whenever they want, which is what I thought was the case initially. But based on this vision, something tells me that's not what they're told to do.
Yeah, it definitely sounds as though there's someone that's outside of the field of play that's making that decision based on the audio that's come through.
So it's a comms issue, right?
Yeah, and that becomes a comms issue, which that's not on the players. It's just something that you need to be able to understand that needs to be efficient in the moment, because that does happen and plays out within a minute. And obviously that's a very high, intense situation for umpires to be in whenever the game's being played, and whether or not to stop it to play on. And then, obviously the situation of the ball getting played out and then having to adjudicate what's going on past that. It's a very, obviously, high intensity moment. And I don't mind that decision being made by someone else, outside of the field of play, whether it's, up in the comms box or whatever it is that's going down to the umpires. I don't mind that decision being made by someone else, because it allows the umpires on the field to continue to do what they're there to do. And it should just be essentially a red button someone pushes that says, no, we're stopping the game. Umpires look around. It's pretty obvious what's going on, I'm sure, at that point. And says either, someone's maybe broken a leg or someone needs to be structured off, and it's a serious situation that's happened on the ground. Yeah,
that's the other thing. The rule of not needing or being told to stop the game unless the ball is in their vicinity of the injured player, that to me just seems a little bit weird as well. I mean, in a game that's so fast-paced, 360, you can torp a ball 60 metres. It's going straight to the injured player anyway. I think, once there's an injured player, you do need to stop the game. I think the one negative with that people would say is we're stopping games for cramps. You never know when the injury is actually serious. So what's the balance between stopping the game whenever you notice an injured player and then getting that directive as well? I think it's pretty clear
hard if someone's,
So the concussion one and Lachie's one, he was KO'd straight away. And that should have been obvious.
Yeah, very much so.
But it's more the cases of, when there is a cramp, how do you not know it's a broken leg, I guess?
Yeah.
Not to stick up for anyone, but that's, I guess, what makes the situation a bit more difficult. Maybe that's why they're being told from someone via an earpiece to stop the game, because they're the ones that should be able to tell if the injury is serious enough or not, which in last week's case, it should have been known.
I mean, we had a physio that was out there that called for a stretcher. That
tells you what you need.
That should almost be a sign you need to stop the game right there.
Yeah.
We're all here to try to make the game better and make it, more enjoyable for everyone and for fans and for kids coming up to want to play the sport and feel as though they're comfortable to play the sport in a safety aspect. And I think the biggest thing out of this conversation we want to make sure that, like we said at the beginning of this, player health and safety is a priority.
Yep.
And we have these things in place whenever, an action happens or something goes as a byproduct of the game, that we have certain things in place to be able to handle that.
Indeed. We need to move on to the next topic, and it is somewhat about umpires. Well, it is about umpires.
Going well.
Not to absolutely lash in on them. I am usually a defender of umpires. I think they do largely a good
they have
job.
A hard job. They have the hardest job in football.
In world sport, potentially.
Maybe, yeah. I'd say we're the most controversial, probably, like umpiring. Yeah,
it's pretty difficult.
Most opinionated, which is tough to adjudicate as the adjudicator, but
definitely.
Yeah.
Melbourne and Hawthorn. So Coxy Pickett was denied an obvious, blatant trip free kick in the goal square.
No, I love Pickett.
The question that I have for you with this one is: should goal umpires be allowed to pay free kicks?
No, I did see this one. Interesting circumstance, right? I look at it and it's like, if you're wearing that color, you can make an umpire call, right? Like if you're wearing bright green, you're an umpire. You should be able to make
boundary
a call.
umps as well. And
I mean, what do we complain about? We say like, oh, there's not enough umpires. There's not enough, I guess, experience within the game to be able to make calls and stuff. And it's like, what helps that is, assistance from other people there at the game. So I'm all for it. I think in this situation, I looked at the vision and it was an obvious trip. I think anyone would be able to see that. But there's two umpires in the vicinity, right? There's the goal umpire, which was the person on the line, and by looking at the vision,
they have the front on view. But
they were focused purely on the ball, because you can see as soon as the ball kind of like goes through for a point, the umpire's looking essentially straight at the ball. So it's not looking at the action of the players and stuff like that, because let's be honest, at this moment, with the way the umpiring's done, that's not his responsibility, his or her responsibility. So I do look at it though, and there was another umpire that was essentially on the point post. That was the boundary umpire.
Yep.
That's probably better in a situation, a visual, to be able to make that call. And I think if someone else is in a better position to make that call, obviously there was no, ground umpires there between him and the goals. I think they should be able to make that.
Yep.
I don't think that's crazy to say. I think that's essentially
assistant referees in the soccer, the linesmen get to make foul calls, and
I don't think there's an issue with that. I think, and it comes back to this, right? This is the whole kind of culture of the AFL and keeping the old school and stuff. Is like, we don't like to change things to make it any different or cause the games to go longer. But I find it interesting is like, do you either take that aspect of we don't want games to go longer, or do you take the aspect of what we want
getting things right,
more calls on the ground that are actually correct?
I'll play devil's advocate then.
Love this.
Do the goal umpires not have a tough job already? Was it last week we spoke about goal line technology and goal umpires?
Well, if they fixed that, goal umpires wouldn't have as much stress on them, would they?
True. Yeah. So maybe. But I don't know. I think there's a lot for them to focus on already. Maybe we need to position the field umpires better, because they should be seeing that anyway. Shouldn't need to be up to the goal umpires.
It's a tough position. I think look at umpires, how much they have to run in a game. It is absurd. Like, they run more than some of the players. And
how many Ks would they do?
That's a
great
great question.
Because
you guys do 15 at least, probably.
Yeah.
And it's nuts. This is like, umpiring is such a hard job, right?
Yeah.
But I think you should be able to have a conversation with different umpires on the ground, whether it's a boundary umpire, goal umpire, just like they do a score review, to say, hey, what did you see? If they saw it, fair call. Like, you can say, like, I saw someone trip someone. You get the free kick.
I reckon at the quarter time breaks, I reckon the goal umpires are saying, hey, by the way, Charlie Curno's being tugged by the jumper a fair bit. I reckon they're having that sort of interaction with field umpires anyway.
I've never experienced that, but yeah.
Have you ever complained to a goal umpire before?
Not,
or is it always like
no? It's always the on-ground umpires, but
yeah, probably fair.
You got to go top of the ladder first.
Mate, did you see the NBA draft lottery that was held yesterday?
Yes.
Wild circumstances with the Mavs winning the lottery, getting the number 1 draft pick with a 1.8% chance of doing so. I'll set the scene for those at home that actually don't know how this works. So the NBA have a draft lottery system whereby all the teams that aren't in the playoffs are seeded in order to try and win the number 1 pick. It doesn't go to the team that automatically has the worst record. So Utah, 17 wins. Washington, 18 wins for the season. They fell outside the top 4 because of this lottery system, despite having the worst records in the NBA. They each had a 14% chance of winning the number 1 pick. Mavs were 1.8%. They won 39 games. They played in the play-in. They were obviously involved in this wild Luka Doncic, world's worst trade of all time.
Yep.
And they've got the number 1 pick. So social media's going bonkers. People are calling conspiracies and saying it's rigged and all this. As I said, it's wild circumstances. But do you think the AFL should adopt a lottery system? Would it work here at all?
It'd make the draft a hell of a lot more interesting.
It'd be fun.
I think,
At the worst, it's exciting.
There's need to be an injection of something for people to care about the lottery, about the draft.
We spoke about the clothes and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Well, it's a bit sterile. I think is probably the best way to put it. And yeah, I'm from Dallas, so I'm kind of a Mavs fan, so I'm pretty happy here.
The Doncic trade makes sense now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, well done. Retrospectively, whenever we win a championship in 2 years, we'll all be going greatest trade of all,
100%.
Greatest trade in history. But no, I don't mind it. I think it's actually, one, it prevents people from tanking because it gives you, the further you are down the ladder, the higher percentage you have.
I think tanking's the one big pro that people have. Yeah. It's like deterring that from happening.
Yeah, so it's good in that sense, I think, and it adds a bit of flair to the draft. I will say there's one downside to this, and that is the confusion that comes with some of the draft picks. I think there was at times I was watching the NBA lottery, and it was like Trailblazers with the 14th pick, and the reason they got that because in 2022 they traded this person for the 14th pick, and then they traded this person to that, and that's why the Trailblazers got it. Like it was like it was seriously like a bulletin board. And you had the red pins going from one thing to another, trying to figure out how this pick got to the Trailblazers. Yeah. Like I think that gets a little.
We
bit
can only
confusing.
trade 1 year in advance. So I think 2 years in advance as of this year or next year. I need to be corrected on that.
Yeah, okay,
so that helps us.
Yeah,
that makes it less confusing in Australia.
It was tough. I felt like I was on CSI or something at times, but I do think the lottery would make things interesting. I know like the visual of that is kind of the visual of the draft. It's like bang the lottery, pulling out the cards of what team gets like the best pick.
Yeah.
And then the other one is essentially the number 1 pick holding up the jersey with the commissioner, right?
Yeah.
So I think it just adds a bit of identity to the draft because there's not really anything that people look at and go, wow, I can't wait for this to happen whenever the AFL draft comes, right? So there's definitely opportunities for it to become something rather than
there's more teams over there as well. There's only 18 teams in the AFL. So what would the comparison be? It'd be like you guys last year finishing 9th, almost playing finals. It'd be like you trading Nick Dacos and then getting the number 1 pick at the end of the year.
Oh.
I reckon that's basically what happened. I don't think people would like that.
No, I think people would absolutely hate that.
Yeah, but you would only have a 1% chance of winning the number 1 pick, which is also the correct circumstance.
Yeah.
Lowest. The 4th lowest odds by a team to win the number 1 pick since the lottery began in 1985.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Like a 1.8% chance or whatever the Mavs to win it. Like it is absurd.
Yeah.
And it was funny because it's like the further down it goes pick 13, pick 12, pick 11, pick 10. People are going, surely the Mavs
How are they not here yet? Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, that's, I don't know.
It adds drama.
It's drama. We love drama.
We love drama. Drama
imagine the chaos that it will cause, though, if it ever happened here. I don't know.
People complain about the littlest things here, so I can imagine.
I like the mystery of it, if anything.
Yeah. I think, you know what? There's one thing I've learned about Australia. Love betting. And I think the lottery excites the hell out of most Australians.
That's a very good
really
call.
Love betting.
Let's look ahead. So I reckon this is the best round visually on the footy calendar coming up. Sir Doug Nicholls round starts this week. It means all clubs are rolling out in their specially designed kits. They are all wonderful, They are all special. All
Yeah.
the stories and the artwork behind these are all very powerful, but we're going to focus purely on the visual appearance side of things. We've ranked the Guernseys, or at least given them our favourite ones. I want you to kick us off. Which ones do you fancy this year, mate?
Like I said, I have to preface this because I think this might be the best year of Indigenous jerseys we've ever seen. I was sitting there trying to do a top 5, and I was just sitting there going, like, that could beat now, that one could beat now, that could beat. It is incredible, and credit to all the artists out there. It's my favorite visual round. I think it's so cool, and it's awesome to be able to give a platform to Indigenous communities and artists and stuff around the country to be able to do these jerseys. And if you ask any fan, I think a lot of the fans are like, these are kind of like the cool jersey I want to buy.
Yeah.
And they're kind of limited edition because they're different every single year.
Yeah.
It comes out with a different version of it. So
Different story, different artwork.
incredible, and it's a great way to give a platform, like I said. But I'll start off. We'll go. Are we doing top 5? Top 5?
Do you have 5?
I've got 5.
Start with.
I mean, like I said, I
5.
started with 3, and I was like, I can't make it 3.
I've got 8. I've actually got 8.
You've got 8.
I'm only going to give you
Jeez.
5.
Okay, all right,
But
go
you,
5.
You go 5.
5 GWS.
Oh, yes.
Reasoning, I'll say best integration of their logo with the design.
I'm a sucker for a white background too.
Yeah, I do love the white background.
Yeah.
Sydney was also the other one, had the nice little white background, but there was other ones that had a bit more going on.
Yeah.
So I'll go GWS at 5.
Strong pattern work here.
What
The
about you?
orange on the white.
It looks good.
Yeah.
Like, it just, I think, and they do a good jersey every year, so you got to give credit where credit's due. What's
4?
your 5?
Nah, you go. You go.
You only got 4 top
Well, they
five.
were in my 5 as well.
Okay, all right. 4, I've got Frio.
Okay.
Just clean. It looks nice.
Yeah.
They did the opposite of what Carlton did. Carlton didn't really do anything with their logo.
They heard
Where
our
Freo
less is
kinda
more
did that.
mantra, and they listened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They heard me complaining about Sydney. and they said, well, we're going to take that feedback and we're going to make a killer jumper. So,
Yeah.
Frio
The only
at
thing
4,
with Freo is I don't, in general, like their purple, green, and red colors.
it's a tough palette.
Yeah.
It's a harder palette.
They
to
don't
do.
really work with each other, but nice design.
We'll go Frio 4, 3 Hawthorne.
Yeah.
I liked the way they kind of integrated. And I must also have to say this. Obviously, I play for Collingwood, so I took them out of my top 5. They're definitely making my top 5, but I think I'm definitely biased, as you can imagine. So this is bar Collingwood, right? So 3,
fair.
I had to say that because I'm
No, the Hawks one is good though.
I like the Hawks. I
Yeah.
like the
Good.
actual bird on there. The hawk
I was going to
cool.
say they balance it well with the bird in the middle and the geometric patterns on the sides.
You can definitely
It's
tell
bold.
it's a Hawthorne jersey. And
It's
it has
bold.
cool integration of it. So that was 3. 2, Adelaide. Adelaide,
Yeah.
cool design. I think the crow is maybe a little bit too big for me. I do love it though. They have the home and away jersey, which is really
Yeah.
cool to see the palette difference between the two.
Yeah, it's top. This is a top tier design for
It
sure.
is elite.
That's my number 1 is Adelaide.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's
I
quality.
can agree with that.
Strong
pretty
pattern
easily.
work, great texture in it.
And I think even, like the
colours.
bottom, like the bars on the bottom with the Indigenous stuff there was cool too.
Yeah.
I've got number 1, the Bulldogs.
Really?
I really like the Bulldogs. Maybe it's red, white, and blue. I don't know. But I really like theirs. And I think they didn't have anything on theirs that was like blatant branding. Like, I felt like theirs was a bit more of like, hey, this is like, we've talked about this before. The branding and like the big kind of slap of like corporates on a jersey really gets to me.
Their mission logo works.
It does.
It works really well.
It works in it, like it actually flows into it really well, which I really
Yeah.
liked. Whereas other jerseys and stuff, and it's not the artist problem, it's the fact that corporates, have their labels on there. It sometimes clashes with the rest of it. So I thought the Bulldogs just had the overall of all those different things, the best logo, kind of cleanness and unique design and integration, all that kind of, if you took an overall, I guess, ranking system, I really like the Bulldogs.
You not have the Saints in there at all.
The Saints
It's
are...
such a nice
It is a
kit.
good one.
It's really
Oh, like
neat.
I said, all
Colour
of
palette
them are
works.
incredible. Like, I think it's
They are. No,
awesome.
they are.
Like, they're all phenomenal.
I think it's just.
But I like
yeah.
to choose different ones,
No, that's fair. The
Saints
Saints one is really striking to look at. I think it's going to pop on TV, the Saints one.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because of the colour palette, the white in the middle flows well. Yeah, nice and eye-catching. The only other two that I'll mention that you didn't, the pies you already sort of mentioned.
Yeah. I can't put that on my top 5. It's too biased.
As I said with the white background, North Melbourne.
I did like that one.
Yeah, very neat. Interesting enough to look at. It's vibrant, and I like how the blue pops.
Yeah.
So I want to get North in there as well.
Okay.
Some sick kits, though.
They're incredible.
Yeah.
There was the West Coast one was an interesting one.
Yeah,
I think
well balanced.
The thing that got me is in the photo that they put out. I think Tim Kelly was in it.
Yeah.
Tim Kelly, it looked like a parachute on him. I was like, get a jersey that fits him so we can sell these things properly.
Yeah.
But no, they were all incredible. Seriously, like credit to all the artists out there. Amazing job.
Yeah.
And they've absolutely smashed it. And like I said, it's one of my favorite parts of AFL to be able to give, like I said, a platform to the Indigenous cultures out there and the connection to some of the players. And it's an awesome initiative by the AFL, so well done.
Yep, can't wait to see all these teams run out this weekend and the weekend after as well. As we said, was it last week or the week before? Even if you're not playing well, you're looking good. That's
Look
half
good,
the
feel
battle.
good. Every player
that's
should be
exactly
feeling good this
right.
weekend.
Let's continue looking ahead to the round, or looking ahead in general. It's time for Don't Be Surprised If, final segment, our favourite segment, and you can kick us off.
You may start. All right. Don't be surprised if games last longer and longer. I know Dave Matthews came out this weekend, GWS fella, and he's talking about games extending and being too long and trying to cut quarters.
You a fan of that or not?
I don't mind it. I think during COVID we played the 16. What was it, like 16
with stoppage time
quarters or whatever it was? Yeah, I didn't mind that. I think like the attention span of people is getting less and less and less. So maybe we have to T20 this kind of thing. But yeah, I think with review systems not getting more efficient, games are going to take longer.
Yeah,
because they're going to have to kind of contemplate whether or not things are going one way or the other, and it's only going to make games last longer and longer. And if you want to stick to around this like 30-minute mark of quarters, I think you either have to pull back to 25-minute quarters or sorry, not 25 minutes, like 16-minute quarters, or something else they have to change to make it around that 30 mark. Because it's just going to get longer and
It is a lot less game time though. So the overall time that you're physically out there is half an hour, 30 plus minutes most of the time, to be honest.
Yeah.
But the game time is still 20 minutes flat.
Yeah.
Do you notice it when you're out there though, that it feels longer?
No. I mean, like you look at some games, I'm sure it would be longer, and some games would be shorter, and it's like it's like a 30-second difference. Like really, like you're not going to remember 30 seconds, like the difference of a game.
That's fair. Don't be surprised if we start to hear louder calls for countdown clocks at stadiums.
Oh,
we got the countdown clock on the TV broadcast.
Yeah.
You got the signage on the bench for each team, which tells you how long there is to go in the quarter anyway. And then there's a count-up clock at the ground.
Yeah.
I'm actually in favour, it might not sound like it, I'm in favour of count-up clocks in general, even on the broadcast. So you don't know how long is left. I love that.
Yeah.
Just chaos.
People
just the excitement of it. Yeah. That's what I really want to advocate for. But if you've already got a countdown clock, and you know how long, if I'm at a game, I can see there's 3 minutes left because the bloody big three's being held up on the bench. I don't care that 27 is on the clock. 27 minutes gone. I know how long's left. I don't want that. I want the excitement of a thrilling finish. Especially after
siren could go at any moment.
Yes, especially after the weekend's games. It was the closest cumulative margins of a round of footy since 1970.
Wow.
That's
a good stat by you. Champion data.
Champion data. But count up clocks in general, or a countdown clock at the ground, because we've got it anyway and we know how long's left.
We used to actually, there was a brand initiation kind of thing at the ground with Tissot, I want to say, and they used to have a countdown clock that went around the whole boundary on like the signage. So anyone that's been to the ground, like on the very edge of the boundary, there's a signage and stuff, and it used to say, Tissot countdown clock, and it would count down from like 2 minutes or something. So as players, we would have like an understanding of exactly how much time was left if that was up on the signage.
Well,
so I think there definitely is a time. Maybe it's like a red zone.
How often are you looking at the bench when the boards are being held up?
You look there at any stoppage and stuff, like you kind of have a quick glance, or like a goal's kicked, you have a quick glance just to see kind of, I mean, it's information, right? Like, whether you're going into a different kind of game plan, or you're going in, or you have a certain amount of time left in the game, whatever it is.
Because I would assume you don't look at the actual count-up clock on the scoreboard.
No,
because that means nothing to you.
No, because it's like, I mean, realistically, like you're either under 5 minutes or you're over 5 minutes left. But I think what the big kind of signs we put up, obviously you have a runner that comes out, but a runner to get to all three lines is quite hard to do within that time frame. So that allows us to essentially not have the runner have to come to our line, but us still get information from the bench as to what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting thing, like that the AFL kind of like allows these things. But I think most people are aware of around how much time's going on. I'm a fan of at the game a countdown clock. I think it adds drama. It adds excitement. People are going to find out.
I prefer not to know, but it contradicts itself when you can see the board signage and the count-up clock.
Agreed. But then someone's going to sit there and go, okay, we'll just get a fan to bring in us 5 signs, say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It'll be behind the bench, and he'll just hold it up, and then technically you can't tell the fan to do it, right? Like, there's always ways around these things.
True.
I'll go to my next one. Don't be surprised if we see an investment into more Indigenous representation in the league. I think, obviously, Sir Doug Nicholls' round, incredible, awesome what the AFL is doing. And myself being an international player, I think it's great to be able to, show and be able to give representation to the Indigenous round by doing this. And I think it's a great initiative by the AFL that a lot of people bought into. And it's something positive that creates, positive stories within society, and something the AFL should take a lot of pride in. So hopefully they keep investing in this. And it can only get bigger and bigger.
Yep. Well said. Last one from me. Don't be surprised if you're not going to like this one. The Pies and Crows play out another thriller this weekend. So the margins in 5 of their last 6 games, 4 points, 2 points, 1 point, 5 points, 5 points.
Wow.
And their last 4 games are 5 points, 1 point, 2 points, and 4 points.
Far out.
Yeah, you know how to play a good game against the Crows.
It's always a good little challenge.
Yeah, it always goes down to the wire.
It does. I feel like we've played them in Adelaide quite a bit, but it's always... Yeah.
We had that one at the G last year where Rankin ran too far.
Yeah,
right at the end.
Yeah, totally forgot that. Yeah,
always a thriller between you two.
Always
it's going to be a cracking game, though.
They're a great team. They're going really well.
Yeah. And, what's the one thing when you look at Adelaide, like, what's the one big threat that you've got to stop? I think it might be obvious that it's the forward line, but...
Yeah, I mean, me personally, Riley O'Brien's one of the best rocks in the league. So you always kind of look at that and you go, oof, he's going to be a challenge in the middle. Yeah, he's a great player, incredible human. Doing like a doctor. Jeez, this guy does it all.
Oh, is he a doc?
He's studying to be a doctor or a surgeon, I want to say, or something ridiculous. It's crazy. He's in med school, which is credit to him. So all the best for him. But over the weekend, he'll be a challenge. Yeah,
well, good luck with that, mate. And thanks for your time again today. Go well on the weekend. Hope it's another win for you boys. To everyone at home listening or watching, thanks for your time. Enjoy the footy this weekend. Don't forget your tips. Speak to you next time.